And now a CBS 4 News health alert and a growing drug epidemic, not only in South Florida, but around the country. Several agencies got together to get the word out about fentanyl, a cheap street drug that is killing people at an alarming rate. CBS 4's Gary Nelson has the important information.
Fentanyl is being called the most addictive, deadly drug ever to hit the streets of South Florida. The drug that killed entertainer Prince this year. It's 100 times more powerful than morphine. It is killing at a rocketing rate. In 2014, fentanyl overdoses killed 13 people in Miami-Dade. So far this year, it has taken 142 lives.
About 80% of those cases actually involve fentanyl in combination with other drugs.
Fentanyl is used with heroin, cocaine, sedatives, and booze. A dose the size of 3 grains of sugar is fatal. It makes oxycodone, Rush Limbaugh's once drug of choice, look like breath mints. Miami Fire Rescue is averaging 250 calls a month for overdoses of the stuff.
And the biggest cost is the cost to the lives, to the livelihood, and the human effect on our citizens.
In Miami Friday, a call to arms.
If you have any information on anyone who's selling this drug or manufacturing, please call us.
There is, these professionals say, simply too much at stake.
If we all don't stand together and do something about this problem, it's going to overtake us.
Developing news tonight, Governor Bill Haslam has just declared a state of emergency in Tennessee after a gas pipeline leak in Alabama. Let's go straight to Kimberly Davis, who is monitoring the situation. Kimberly, do concerns of a possible gas shortage have people flocking to those pumps?
Well, Carrie, in the last hour that we've been here, we have seen a price hike of 14 cents. And it's all because people are doing a lot of this in hope of fueling up with cheaper gas. But officials are urging people not to panic because this is just a short-term problem.
I'm going to use what I'm going to use anyway, so got to work, right? Filling her up.
We have a pipeline burst and there's a shortage, so I'm trying to fill up.
And that's exactly what officials are advising drivers not to do.
Better safe than sorry.
Service from a Colonial pipeline in Alabama has been disrupted after a leak caused the closure of a pipeline that carries gasoline to Tennessee.
Tennessee is not fully dependent on the Colonial pipeline for its gasoline. There are several other sources for gasoline in Tennessee, including a refinery in Memphis and another pipeline that serves East Tennessee and Knoxville.
Pipelines are our biggest, they control vicinities in the area, southeastern areas.
But some drivers are concerned the leak might drive up prices.
Every time something happens, the price of gas goes up, and they got so much gas stored, but they still up the price.
Tankers are having to drive a little bit farther to get gas to Nashville, and so the longer drive adds to the cost.
We don't know how long it's going to come back up, or they're going to repair, and pipeline repairing is going to take time, so we don't know.
Hit like 3 gas stations up and all of them empty.
Officials are not sure when it will be repaired, but they are hopeful it will be fixed within a week.
Trying to go ahead and get a little bit now to see what happens.
And it's up to us to remain calm and not to pump more gas than we normally would.
There might be sporadic and temporary outages.
The station down the street didn't have any gas.
But we believe that those would be addressed in fairly short order.
Breaking news, drivers lining up at gas stations across the mid-state to get fuel amid concerns it could run out. You are taking a live look from our Skycam at a crowded Exxon station right downtown. This all has to do with a gas pipeline leak in Alabama. Although Governor Haslam declared a state of emergency, officials are urging you not to panic.
Carrie, just a few minutes ago, this gas station went dry. You can see there are no cars here. This was a much different story, though, when we arrived a short time ago. We actually saw them put out this one sign that said regular gasoline only. Drivers continued to fill up, and then suddenly these yellow signs came out saying no more gasoline. I want you to take a look at the video. You can just see the long lines that were actually going out into the roadway at one point there. And drivers telling us they had to go to multiple stops before they found some gasoline. Take a listen.
20 to 30 minutes waiting in line after driving around for probably 40 minutes looking for somewhere that had gas.
I was at the gas station and I was barely making it. Yeah, lucky.
What's it been like around town to try to get gas tonight?
This is my 4th station. 4th. and it's like mad chaos out there.
So a lot of frustration across the mid-state tonight. Now, the rush on gasoline comes amid a scare of a gas shortage. Tennessee declared a state of emergency today because of a pipeline leak in Alabama. This comes as a precautionary measure by Governor Bill Haslam to issue a state of emergency, which allows drivers hauling gasoline to work longer hours so we don't have a gas shortage. However, many drivers across Tennessee, they tell me they are feeling it already, the possibilities of what it would be like, and they did not like it.
No gas, not in Franklin, Bellevue, no way.
Panic, long lines, higher prices, and gas pumps running dry. That's the scene at gas stations in and around Nashville and the area this morning.
We came to this Exxon and Harding Place this morning and found not just one of the pumps with this sorry out of service bag, not just two of them, but if you take a look, every single gas pump at this gas station has one of those yellow bags on it. I've actually seen several people weave around the pumps looking for a place to pump gas, and they're just out of luck this morning. Take a look at some of the video we captured last night because this all started yesterday. This was a Shell station off Harding Place that we were at. The clerk told us the line started just after 2 p.m. and didn't let up until they ran out of gas. At one point, the long line spilled out into the roadway. Drivers tell us they went to several gas stations before finding one that still had fuel. People reported some prices hiked more than $1 above normal. But here's the thing, officials are urging people not to fill up more than they regularly would, saying that that would have avoided some of this problem in the first place.
A breaking story out of Minnesota where at least 8 people were stabbed at a shopping mall. This happened just after 8 p.m. local time in St. Cloud, Minnesota, just about an hour outside of the Twin Cities area. According to police, a witness said the suspect made a reference to Allah and asked at least one person if they were Muslim before attacking them. Again, 8 people stabbed, treated for non-life-threatening injuries. 7 were released, and we know the suspect was shot and killed.
The ISIL-affiliated news agency Amaq says one of the group's followers carried out the stabbing attack that wounded at least 8 people at a shopping mall in the U.S. state of Minnesota on Saturday. The executor of the stabbing attacks in Minnesota yesterday was a soldier of Islamic State and carried out the operation in response to calls to target the citizens of the countries belonging to the Crusader Coalition, Amaq said in a statement. The authorities say a man wearing a private security uniform and armed with at least one knife stabbed 8 people at the Crossroads Centre Mall in St. Cloud before he was shot dead by an off-duty police officer. Thousands take to the streets of London to vent their frustration with the UK government over its handling of the refugee crisis. In 2015, the then Prime Minister David Cameron vowed to take in up to 20,000 Syrian refugees over the next 5 years.
It's a crisis of huge proportions, and we don't think the political action is being taken to address that crisis. So we want to see more action from the UK government. They made a commitment to rehouse 20,000 refugees. We think they've only done 2,500 of that so far. We think that's too little.
The war in Syria is raging tragically as intensely as ever. And whether people are from Syria or from any other country, they need that opportunity to rebuild their lives in safety, and Britain should welcome more refugees.
In August, the UK government said recent figures suggested it was unlikely to meet its target of resettling 20,000 Syrian refugees by 2020.
This comes amid a critical ceasefire between the United States and Russia. What do we know about what happened and where?
Well, this puppy was in eastern Syria, a place called Deir ez-Zor. The U.S. military, the coalition, thought it was striking an ISIS target, personnel, troops, and vehicles that it had been watching for some time. They had actually, under pretty standard procedures, spoken to the Russians ahead of time, giving them a general area that they were targeting, but not the specifics. But about 25 minutes into the series of airstrikes, the Russians apparently called back to the U.S. and said, "You are hitting Syrian forces, not ISIS." At that point, the U.S. military says it immediately withdrew its aircraft and struck no more targets there. They are certainly looking into how this all happened, where the mistake was made. And so we will have to see. It has not happened before.
ISIL claims to have shot down a Syrian military jet in the eastern city of Deir el-Zor. The London-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says the jet came down in the Jebel Thada area, near the government's military airport. On Saturday, US-led coalition airstrikes reportedly killed dozens of Syrian soldiers in Jebel Thada. Tensions between Moscow and Washington are escalating. There are concerns the US-Russia brokered ceasefire is under threat. We consider that such an incident with a lot of victims only came about due to a lack of understanding of the context by the coalition's command and because of the refusal by the US side to coordinate its actions against terrorist groups in Syria with Russia. We're currently awaiting clarification.
On the phone with me is our Fred Pleigton. He is inside Syria this weekend. I'm seeing reports here of 83 regime forces dead, 120 others at least injured. Give us the details, the specifics on that. What do we know?
Hi, Poppy. Yeah, there was a statement by the Syrian military, which was brought out, I would say, about maybe 45 minutes to an hour ago, where they accused what they say is the U.S.-led coalition of bombing Syrian army positions near the town of Deir el-Zor, or in the town of Deir el-Zor. Now, you have to keep in mind that Deir el-Zor is a city that's surrounded by ISIS and actually held mostly by ISIS, where the regime only has a few areas and also the airport. And the Syrian military says that because of those airstrikes that took place, that ISIS was actually able to advance in those areas. So they're directly blaming the U.S.-led coalition for helping ISIS advance. Now, the U.S. itself has put out a statement as well saying that there was an airstrike today on positions near Deir el-Zor, where they say they were trying to hit ISIS armored vehicles. They don't dispute that they may have accidentally hit the Syrian military. At this point, though, it's really unclear what exactly happened there.
Will Syria's shaky ceasefire survive this latest setback? US-led coalition airstrikes have reportedly killed dozens of Syrian soldiers, putting the truce in jeopardy. America expressed regrets and said the attacks were stopped against what it believed to be ISIL positions, after Russia reported the military may have been hit. Moscow demanded an emergency UN Security Council meeting, a move criticized by the US ambassador.
If what Ambassador Power has done today is any indication of their possible reaction, then we're in serious trouble. But I do hope that they will find a way to convince us and everybody else that they are serious about political settlement in Syria, that they are serious about fighting terrorists.
America's ambassador lashed out at Russia, questioning its motives over the Syrian crisis.
The Assad regime has been intentionally striking civilian targets with horrifying, predictable regularity. And yet, in the face of none of these atrocities, has Russia expressed outrage. Nor has it demanded investigations, nor has it ever called for a Saturday night emergency consultation in the Security Council.
When asked if Saturday's incident ended the Syria ceasefire deal, Churkin said this is a very big question mark. The truce, which took effect on Monday, has been undermined by accusations of violations on both sides and a failure to get aid in.
Militants have killed at least 17 soldiers and injured 18 at an Indian Army Brigade headquarters in Kashmir, near the de facto border with Pakistan. An army spokesman in the India-administered region confirmed that 4 commando-style gunmen had also been killed after storming the base in Uri. The attackers, said to have been armed with grenades and guns, reportedly set fire to one building, then entered into a gunfight which lasted several hours. It's the most deadly recent assault in disputed Kashmir. Some 80 people have been killed in over 2 months of clashes in the region, and a strict curfew is in place.
Today, a new study warned that humans could be responsible for bringing about the 6th mass extinction of marine life.